Okay, hello everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar today. This webinar is on how to boost your user experience and performance. My name is Katrina Polsby. Our session today will be led by Kent Agerlund, our principal consultant here at CTGlobal and Microsoft MVP and Regional Director. We'll have time for questions at the end of the session, so please feel free to put them in the chat window at any time during the session, and then we'll address them at the end. Any questions we don't have time for, we will send out to you on email after this later on. For those of you who don't know much about us, let me just introduce us. CTGlobal is a consultancy based in Copenhagen, Denmark, with additional offices in the US, in Norway and the Baltics, and we serve customers globally. We're primarily focused on Microsoft technologies around enterprise client management, cloud, data center and security. We're a Microsoft Gold certified partner, and we have 6 MVPs on staff. So thanks again for joining. I'm going to hand this over to Kent so he can get started.
So once again, Catherine, thanks a lot for the introduction. Let me just start by introducing you to Insight Analytics and all of our thoughts behind this. On this deck here, you will see words like data, analysis, insights, and business values. We have been in the business of client management and data center management for about 20 years now. As a matter of fact, coming up October 1st, we celebrate our 20 years anniversary here. And we have done many projects, and we know when we have left our customers, they might have, let's just say that they have a ton of data. Have no idea how to use those data. One person might know, have a lot of insights to, how do I take these data, put them into Excel, or, create a custom report, and then make some analysis. And you can be sure that the day after that person has done that, that's the day that person is actually leaving the organization to do, something else. So what Insight Analytics is all about, it will actually take the data that you have in your environment. We will take the data that you have on your on-premise devices. We will take the data that you have on your cloud-connected devices. We will add our CTGlobal IP, meaning that we will also create some additional data that you will need. We will create those on your devices, and then we'll just be using your existing infrastructure to grab the data, to engage with you, to add our best practice, our know-how together with your know-how, because you have a lot of know-how inside. We know that. And together we will go ahead and find your pain points. We'll find your blind spots. And once we have done those analysis, then the whole idea behind those analysis is to be able to answer all of those why questions. So why are we seeing a blue screen? How many of our devices are experiencing an Outlook crash? Where is it that we actually see that the startup is taking the longest? So all of those analysis, we'll be able to help you with that. Now, I know and we know that once we start talking about data and we show a lot of data, some of us get super excited, and others, they don't really know how to use those data to activate some actions. So we need to turn those data into insights. So when we say, insights, what is it that we actually mean? Well, I can take an example. For instance, going all the way back to data. Let's say that we capture information about the battery state on any given laptop that you have in your environment. So we can go down and we can figure out what is the maximum charge capacity that you have on this specific device. It might tell the end user that it's charged to 100%, but the end user is kind of complaining because they know when they go on the train, they're unplugged, they only have power for like 15 minutes. And no train ride is ever just 15 minutes. We all know that. It always takes way too long. So what we can do is we capture the data, we analyze the data, we figure out on what devices, what models, so we see if there is any trend there. And then we turn that into insights. And we say, okay, dear manager, dear boss, if we take these models here, I know we saved $25 per model, but if we take those models and just pay an additional $35 and get the slightly better model, then we will actually have a way longer battery lifetime. Can we please do that? And that means that actually at the end we will save the company a lot of money. So that's kind of what we are trying to do here. So it's much more than just capturing data. And activating, you'll see here that we have device state, security, operational excellence, and user experience. And those are just the categories in where we try to put our insights. So instead of saying we will analyze everything, we will say, okay, let's focus here on user experience. User experience is everything that annoys an end user. Let's find the data points that we know are super annoying in an average user's everyday life. My application is crashing. My device is blue screening when I unplug it from my external monitor. All of that good stuff. So before we can tell a story, we need to figure out what story we are trying to tell, and that's where we have found out in the later years that instead of saying everything, it's way better for us and our customers to say, okay, let's put the stories into these buckets here. So that's really what we're trying to do with Insight Analytics, and obviously, even though we have these 4 buckets here that we call device state is meant to be, every insight that you have on device that you need to worry about before it ends up in the user experience. So for instance, a battery, you will go ahead, proactively monitor the batteries. You will figure out on which models where you might need to either replace the model or save a lot of money by just replacing the battery. But if you don't do that, then all of a sudden you will have to go into user experience, and then you'll have some other data points in there. Security, everything around security. So for many of us, that could be patch compliance. It could be, insecure protocol. It could be encryption. It could be like everything. And then finally, operational excellence. So operational excellence, that's how well we are performing. And when I say we, I mean, the IT pros. So when I create an image and I deploy that image to 28,000 devices, how well are we actually doing that? Or when we deploy an application, how well are we actually doing that? So trying to figure out if we operate like we're supposed to operate, and if we don't, where exactly do we have those issues that we need to do something about? So those are kind of the 4 pillars of Insight Analytics here. And as I mentioned, today we'll kind of focus on user experience. I got a few mails prior to this call saying that, we know it's only user experience, but if I can just show a couple of the other insights that we have. So I'll be doing that quickly, but I will mainly and primarily be focusing on user experience. We'll have other webinars coming up. So we should have a webinar like every 2-3 weeks or 4 weeks or something like that. So next time we'll be focusing on security and so on and so forth. So for user experience, as I mentioned, what we're trying to do is we're trying to kind of tell stories here. And when we talk about user experience, we have way more insights that I'm just showing you here on the slide. This is just, instead of showing everything, just focus on a few things. So blue screens. Some of the issues that we see is that we have no or maybe just very little insight into, where we have blue screens, when they occur, how often they occur, and also, let's say you have 1,500 blue screens in a week. Is that good or bad? Well, it really depends on, one, how many devices you have, and if that specific blue screen is happening on 1,500 users, or if it's just happening on 2 test devices. Because let's be honest, if it's happening on 2 test devices, I couldn't care less. If it happens on 1,500 users, that that makes me worry a little bit. Then I know I have to fix it somehow, and fix it somehow all starts with me getting insight. So I need to know when it happened. Like, is there any trend? Is it the same devices that it happens on, the make, the model, the operating system, maybe even the location? So where do we have those devices? That can also give me insight to how I fix the issue. Then when we talk, when we do a storytelling, performance in general, you will very rarely hear from an end user saying, I think I have a disk error on my device. I think, that my battery is not good enough. Stuff like that just don't happen. And having a battery that can only charge to 89% might not be, isolated bad. But if you also have, an application that crashes all the time, if you have startup that takes way longer than average, then all of those little things there, they slowly add up to becoming a daily issue for the end user. We not that long ago we had a visit at a customer where we used Insight Analytics to figure out why they were having WebEx issues. So that's something I hear a lot. We have Skype issues, we have WebEx issues, and so on and so forth. So we used Insight Analytics to capture all the data, and it actually turned out that the persons having WebEx issues was actually all sitting on more or less the same hardware, and that was a cheaper model. So some of all the rendering that should take place on the hardware actually took place in software, and that caused that bad end user behavior or end user experience there. So there can be a ton of reasons why an end user is complaining, and it's very rarely what they're saying that is actually the root cause. So performance in general, take a little look at that. Outlook, other strategic applications. I know. I mean, Outlook is being blamed for a lot of things, and Outlook can be extremely annoying, especially when it takes like 2, 3, 4 minutes to start up Outlook and to wait for not responding and all of that good stuff. But there might be a reason why it says not responding. And what I've seen is often when we talk about Outlook, PowerPoint, Excel, some of all the add-ins that departments are installing, they don't even, sometimes they don't even stop by IT to get those add-ins approved. So we can look at add-ins and we see add-ins that, from an IT perspective, we have never approved those add-ins, and we can easily see that they take 2 minutes and 35 seconds to load. So when you have that and 10 other add-ins, I mean, no wonder why you're experiencing a lot of issues. So those are some of the
Hang on, guys. We just have an audio issue.
So I think I should be okay now. Okay, perfect. So let me jump into the demo, and I'll be demoing out of my own. I have 2 environments here. So I have an environment with about 52, 56 devices, and then I have a developer environment, and I'll be showing you both of those. So I'm opening it up in the security view. That's just our default view here, and I know security is not what we're going to talk about here, but the security view is kind of a great way to start, because when we talk security, here you can see I visualize my patch management process, but there are a couple of things in here when you visualize that are I would say key to good visualization. First of all, not everything is equally important. I could easily visualize the last 24 months of patch compliance, but if I did that, maybe what is most important to me would actually drown. So what I have here is I'm only visualizing the last couple of months, and then the current month, which is, the most important for me right now, I will visualize not as a donut, but I will visualize it as another chart type here. So that's just a good advice. And then below here, I'm kind of saying, okay, so if we are not 100% compliant, why is that? So we just have a few data points. Again, I could have 12 or 14 data points, but that would just be too confusing, lead to too many questions in here. So right now I'm just looking at, when we talk security, is my WSUS server actually working? Can my client scan? How many do I have in a reboot pending mode? All of that good stuff. Now, security is not my primary concern right now. That was actually my my user experience. And when I click on user experience, you'll notice a couple of things here. So first of all, this view is a bit different. So you might not have the same, look and feel in here, and that's because the user experience here is written for my Windows 10 1903 upgrade process. So when I'm doing the upgrade, normally what we are focusing on, or what I see most organizations focus on, is, okay, so is my task sequence working? Can I deploy 6,000 devices a week? All of that good stuff. But they might kind of forget, what goes on after the end user have actually received that device. So what I'm trying to do in here is I'm saying, okay, last time we did an upgrade, I wouldn't say it was a crash and burn, but we were happy if we could just deploy the operating system, right? We took you from 1607 to 1703 or whatever. And then after that, people started to complain. They complained about blue screens. They complained about everything taking longer. They complained about, I couldn't really use my keyboard until 5 minutes after I powered on my PC, and so on and so forth. So here I have a couple of data points. If I look at the CTGlobal Performance Index, I would really like my end users to give a higher score, because what we have here is we have a value range from 0 to 10. The higher, the better. We're looking at metrics like application crashes, group policy processing errors. We're looking at startup time. We're looking at battery. We're looking at blue screen. So we have a set of different performance checks that we perform on those devices, and based on those results, we'll give you a value here. And I can see that I have a slight decrease in performance. 0.4 might be, totally acceptable. If I take a look into some of those metrics, then I can also see that my startup time, my login time, so my startup time has increased a bit. The startup time is measured from I power on my device until I get the login screen. So that tells me a little about, how are we processing all the system stuff, a little about the hardware and so on and so forth. When I look at login here, it could be DNS, it could be, more or less everything network related. So we have some different metrics in here, and I have that for my average workstations. I have that for my Windows 10 1903 devices. Apps that will have a high impact on CPU and I/O during startup is also something that I can go in here and visualize. Now, I know when I visualize this, it raises a lot of questions. So when, for instance, I look at my blue screens here, so what kind of blue screens is it that we have seen? Why are we seeing them? And can we do anything to fix them? So on a dashboard, I don't want to show every single detail, because that would kind of kill the dashboard. So for every widget we have in here, you'll be able to log in, and then you will be taken to your on-prem environment, and you will see a report. So this report here gives me a little insights into, how many blue screens have I had in a given period. If I fix my top 10 issues, how much money will I be able to save? And if I drill into any of these, issues that I have, I'll be able to get more detailed information about, when did that blue screen occur? What is the driver? Who is the vendor? The error product, and obviously also on what device and where we have that device. So we have all of those insights for every single little widget that you have in here. Now, I do know that for some organizations, they don't want to look at blue screen code refs for for Dell, for HP, they just want to see what is my cost right now. I don't show me 10 super detailed widgets. I just want to see my cost. So if I jump into my developer environment here, you'll see, as this is a service, one of the updates that we'll provide our customers with, I think it will go out either Friday or Friday next week. We will have an estimated cost. So this widget here will tell you, okay, how many of incidents have you had? 21. What is the estimated cost for that? And creating a widget like this or any other widget is fairly easy, and that's one of the many powers of Insight Analytics. We don't want you to be, an expert in SQL. We don't want you to be an expert in Configuration Manager, any of that. We just want you to be able to go in and create your insights. So let me just jump into my security view here. If I want to create a new widget, or if I want to create a new view, a new group, I can do it using PowerShell, or I can use the UI in here. So I can, say I want to create a new widget. We have a lot of different categories that you can choose from. So more or less everything that you have within products like Configuration Manager, you will be able to visualize in here. So if I want to visualize, for instance, a software update process, I can select that. I can do it based on a collection. I can do it based on an update group. Let me just go ahead and select any. I can select all deployments, a specific deployment. I can change the schedule. So how often do I want to run the query? How often do I want to update this? I can add in, color rules for my donut. I can change it up here if I don't want to have a donut, but if I want to have a pie, a bar, whatever instead. And then obviously also I can, at the end of the day, click finish. What will happen right now is that it will go communicate with a connector, ask for the data, encrypt the data that we need to visualize this, and then we'll show you the data in here. Once we do that, out of the box already now, I have enough information here to go ahead and launch a report. So I will be able to, I don't have to create any custom reports myself. As part of this service here, we will provide you with reports. That's not the same as saying that, you can't customize it, because if you have any data that you want to visualize that we haven't already provided you with, you can go ahead and create a new widget, select what we call a top list, and in here you can go ahead and create a custom query. When you create a custom query, it can be anything that SQL can understand. So whatever SQL query that you can think of, you'll be able to put in here. And again, you'll be able to go in, add in a custom report link. You can turn on the schedule. You can go in and design all of this good stuff, and then just at the end of the day, obviously hit finish here. So creating these widgets here is not difficult at all. Now you can see here I have my software update widget that I just created. Let me just go ahead and delete that because that will absolutely ruin my picture in here. And there you can see my custom query. So what I was asking for here was, what is my average login time for all of the models that I have? So, in just a few clicks, I can take a look at my model count, and then can see, okay, so the model that we have, most of, we're doing okay. And if I look at my average login time here, so, should we do anything about this? The average login time is just 85 seconds. It looks to be okay. So I wouldn't freak out about these numbers, but I've seen login numbers for certain models that takes almost 10 minutes. And Catherine is telling me that we have a couple of minutes left here, so it might be time for some questions.
Yeah, we've got a few questions. One here is, have you got any advice for what to visualize on the different views in terms of number of widgets, how much info on one view, etc.?
Yeah, so I touched a little on that. Basically, don't do what I just did here. So as I said, a rule of thumb here is that not everything is equally important. I know you believe everything is equally important, and sometimes I even do that, so don't do that. Also, know your audience. So this is a great example. We talk security. I could add 20 important security widgets in here, but my audience for this one, this is in service desk, hanging on a wall. They show it on the monitor. They wouldn't be able to read and understand 20 widgets there. So it's really about creating a balance, showing something that is pretty, obviously also accurate. But if you confuse, if I added up 25 donuts here, the reader would be confused.
And we've got one here. Any possibilities to get the dashboard on-prem instead of cloud? For banks, cloud is a concern.
Yeah. So this is version number 4 we have, and the short answer is yes. We have completely rewritten everything, and right now as it is, you can host this. Right now it's hosted for me in Azure. You can host it in Amazon. You can host it on premise. You can do more or less, what you want. So the answer is yes.
Cool. I think that's all we have time for right now. I think if you have any more questions, do feel free to send them to us. And once again, thank you for joining. If you have any questions, as I said, do join us. Do email us info@ctglobalservices.com. Also, of course, if you want to book a demo. And that's it. Thank you, everybody, and have a nice day.
Yeah, thanks for joining.